everybody. So here we go again. This is just a small video to show you how I would get on with training with the double action old warhorse that I had in the previous video. My target is set up. You can see I have a large sheet of paper behind my AAA target, and there's a reason for that today. I'll explain that as we go along, but notice it's all blank. Again, we're going to get on with the next phase. We're going to do this back at 5 meters. Okay, so you can see that I have two holsters on today. I just wanted to show you this one. Of course, this is a right-handed holster. This is a vintage military kind of World War II thing for a Browning high power. And yes, normally I'm right-handed and I might be using that. Today, this I'm using is a Bianchi military, but it's ambidextrous. I can swap it to either side. And of course, I'm using that old warhorse that was in the previous episode to do the demonstrations today, so on how I would start training with it. So today's the day where I want to address the 10 to 15% of the monkeys in the world that are left-handed, because it's just you're gonna have stuff that's built for a right-handed person, because invariably you ran into John's Gun and Cheese Emporium at the last minute when they shut off the flow of the sales, and you bought what was on the shelf. And if you're left-handed, well, okay, you got what you got, and you can train with it as well. Plus, for me, because I normally train right-handed, I don't train as much weekend, as they call it, or support hand, or left-hand, or whatever you want to call it, as much as I should. If you're one of those bug munching snake eaters, you do a lot more of that dual hand training. But in this case, this is for us poor people that just happen to get what they got and happen to be standing on the wrong side of the golf ball when we play golf. That's why I'm going to do this. It builds a little unfamiliarity into it for me, and then I can sort of, be in your shoes for this. And this is what it's going to look like. Okay, at some places in Canada, you need to have a special course or a sticker or whatever on your card or whatever to be able to use a live loaded handgun in a holster or in a holster, depending on where you are. Make sure you comply with all the necessary rules and regulations and laws where you are. Okay, in this case, I'm going to show you where you can start and where you can go from there. You could use a table. You could have a table with you. You don't have to be in a holster, but in this case, I want to exemplify some of the other things as well. So I'm just going to step back a little bit so you get a little better view, and it's going to look like this. So first thing I would do is okay, because I've already set up everything the way it needs to be. If I was going to start my training session, I would start with a couple of dry fires. So there's where it would be, as I would disengage my holster retention device. Now I'm going to get my natural body alignment in play. Then I'm going to get my first and final grip. And we're going to talk a little bit about first and final grip, because if you haven't shot this firearm a lot, you may not know what that is yet. So then, keeping my finger off the trigger and pull it out, put it parallel to the range floor. Okay, and now I can carry on with my dry fire training from here. Again, you started out with it unloaded in the holster. I don't need to show that to you. And then I'm going to just marry my hands together, push the gun out, okay, and I'm going to sights on the target and manipulate the trigger. Okay, I'm going to do that a couple of times. I can bring the gun down. Now remember, this is the double single gun that does not have a decocking lever. So when I go to load it, okay, each time I'm going to decock it the old school way, the manual way, which means that when I load it, okay, the hammer will stay back in this position. Then I'm going to put my thumb in front of the hammer. I'm going to pull the trigger. Then I'm going to get my finger off the trigger. I'm going to lower the hammer to the half cock position, reestablish my grip. Then I'm going to push it out again and fire another shot. And I will do that multiple times. Some of the other things I want you to see is the process that I would go through for loading it. So I have two magazines with me today. I have one that is empty, and one that has 10 rounds of live ammunition in it. It's new commercial manufactured cheap stuff. So I haven't shot it through this gun. I don't have any idea where it will print. And the empty magazine is because I'm manipulating the gun left-handed. I want to be able to lock the slide back, and I can't reach the slide lock well, so I'll use the empty magazine when I go to unload it. So it would start like this. if we were to go live and I wanted to carry on with my training, then I would push the gun out here. I would retrieve the magazine with the ammunition in it from wherever I had it stored. Note I'm indexing. I'm going to turn the gun slightly sideways, keeping it pointed at the target. Push it in until I hear the click. Flex your pec muscles. Don't slam it in there. Okay. I'm going to turn the gun upright, maybe over a little the other way, keeping my finger off the trigger. I'm going to pinch the slide. I'm going to push and pull and release the slide so it goes forward under its own spring power. Do not ride it. Push and pull, let it come out of your hand so it does its job. Someday I'll tell you the story about unionized springs. Now, to carry on with my training, I need to decock it. I'm going to do the same again. Put my thumb in front of the hammer, pull the trigger, get my finger off the trigger, then I'm going to lower the sometimes it's going to be difficult. Put my thumb in front of the hammer, pull the trigger, my finger off the trigger, let the hammer down to the half cock position. Now I'm going to reestablish my grip, or what I believe my grip should be, in this kind of low ready position here. Now I'm going to carry on with my training, mastering the double action pull. So I'm not in a rush. I'm going to push the gun out, bring it up to my eye. I'm not going to come down to the gun. I'm going to line up the sights. I'm going to put my finger on the trigger. I'm going to manipulate the trigger and fire a shot. Okay. Then I'm going to get my finger off the trigger. I'm going to decock it again. Decock it again. Set everything back up. Get what I believe to be is my grip. Okay. Now I can see the target. I saw where it went. I don't have to make any changes. The reality is I need to shoot a group on the paper now. So I want to be consistent and repeatable in everything I do for the next 10 shots or 9 shots. So it'll look like this. I'll push the gun out again, bring the sights up to my eye, get onto the trigger, line up the sights, manipulate the trigger, and fire the shot. I'm going to bring it back down. Decock. It's a drawn out process, and most people don't exercise the self-discipline to train at this level. They want to do what's easy. All right? Me, I want to be like Bruce Lee. I want to be the best of the best. I'm going to train the hardest way. All right, push the gun out again, bring the sights up to my eye, get onto the trigger, and then I'm going to manipulate the trigger, keep it up. Bring it back down. I'm going to decock, set it up again. I'm going to push it out, bring the sights up to my eye. I'm going to line it all up. I'm going to manipulate the trigger. Bring it back down, decock. Don't be in a rush, okay? All right, I'm going to do it all again. It's going to be boring. We're going to do this 10 times. Here we go. I'm going to bring it all out, line up the sights, bring them up to my eye. I'm going to manipulate the trigger. I'm going to try and do everything the same. Put my thumbs and my fingers, everything in the same place every time. Okay? And if you notice, when I shoot, I don't change my grip except when I'm going through the decocking process. And that's one of the ways you'll know that your grip isn't correct. If you're not holding it right or tight enough or loose enough, is when you change your grip with every shot you fire. Here we go again. I'm going to push it out. I'm going to line up the sights. I'm going to manipulate the trigger. I make sure all my digits are in the same place over and over and over again. Bring it back down. Decock. Do it again. Decock. Set everything back up. Put everything back in the same place. Push it up, line up the sights with my eye, manipulate the trigger, back, down, decock. This feels weird. I don't do this very often, and that's the whole point, is I want to walk in your shoes. There we go. I'm going to push it out there, I'm going to bring the sights up to my eye. Manipulate the trigger, back down, decock. Put everything back in the exact same place. It needs to be consistent and repeatable. There we go. I'm going to push it out, bring it up to my eye, line up, put my finger on the trigger, manipulate the trigger, fire the shot. Now, gun is empty. Note, slide lock back, empty magazine. What I need to do then is remove the magazine. Now the magazine catch is on the left side, meant to be operated with your thumb. In this case, I will manipulate it with my trigger finger. Look in the magazine, nothing in there, nothing in the chamber, nothing in the mag well. I can shove the magazine back in my pocket. If I'm using a table, I could set the gun down on the table. I'm going to put it back in the holster. I'm going to release the slide lock. I'm going to decock it again. Let the hammer down to the half cock. Lift the holster flap. Push it down in. And secure the flap. Now, just so you know, I'm not cheating. I'm going to flip this around and show you the target. Okay, so here you go. Sorry about the little glitch. I pushed the wrong button. But there we go. 5 meters, roughly thereabouts. You can count them up. It's with my left hand. I don't fire, I fire this gun maybe once a year type thing. The reality is that's what you're trying to achieve. Okay? Now, I would accept that, and I put the big piece of paper up around it just in case that, you know, my groups were not that great, depending on the type of ammo and how I was manipulating it. This is what I would accept at 5 meters. I would be willing to walk back to the 10 meter point and carry on with my training at that level. If you are not in this size under your fist at 5, okay, then don't go further back. If you're under your fist at 5, feel free to back up a little bit and train. That's how I would start training with that gun if I was the unfortunate monkey who was left-handed and that was the last minute buy that I managed to get. Can I be Bruce Lee expert with it? You want to believe I can, okay? That's the deal is it's about the training. Now, don't get overwhelmed by what you see on my target. Truth of the matter is I've been doing this a long time, okay? And if you want to make it to the IDPA championships or the IPSC championships or the Zombie Olympics, I don't care what your choice is. This is a good way to start. Use what you got, and then then just train with it. Train to be that level of good, because you can't have any other options right now. That may change in the future. We all hope it does, but if it doesn't, this is the path forward. Now, if you look at that target, here's what I want you to know about first and final grip. If your group is not centered on the target, okay, left to right, you're going to make some adjustments in your way that you hold it. This particular gun, I have never adjusted the sights on it ever since I've owned it, and as far as I know, it may have been adjusted by other people, but I think it's pretty much, you know, factory original. The reality is at 5 meters, most guns, brand new out of the box, are going to put bullets in the middle of the target if you're holding it correctly. How do you know? I think how do you establish first and final grip? Okay, well, if this group was to show up over here on this side of the paper or over here on this side of the paper, I would change something in the way I'm holding it. That's what I would do first. Before I started, you know, getting a punch and a hammer out and moving the sights, I would change in the way I'm holding it until it starts to print closer to the center of the target and is in tiny little groups. If you're printing all over this target, okay, then you just need to keep working at your dry firing practice and manipulating the trigger without disturbing the sight alignment, because it's not there yet. Now, when you have your first and final grip, you'll know, because as a general rule, when you pull it out of the holster, they'll go in the center of the target at whatever distance you're at. And the first thing that is giveaway that you don't have a proper grip is you reposition your hands every time you fire the first shot. You pull it out of the holster, you fire a shot, it settles in your hand a certain way, and then you move your fingers to compensate for it. That is not a first and final grip. Some people will tell you, oh, you hold 60% strong hand, 40% support. It doesn't matter. All of that in the early stages when you're brand new to this. Just know that if you have to keep repositioning your hands, you're not going to shoot tiny little groups. You are not consistent enough in your hold, even if it's off to the left. As long as your hold is consistent and you shoot groups, then we can make adjustments from there by adjusting hand position or, if necessary, moving sights. But until you're consistently holding the gun so that from the first shot to the last, you don't have to change anything in the way you hold it, then you're not there yet. In any case, so that's a start of it. It's just a short one to get you on the right track. No, this is not me bragging. I'm not out here trying to say, oh, look how good I am, because really I could care less what people think of my skill level. Just know this is kind of the thing that I do, and I'm sharing it with you. Do your part. Train like Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee trained like 6 to 9 hours a day to be as good as he was and what his life goals were. Now, are you going to get 6 to 9 hours a day in? Not likely. But can you get 15 minutes a week of dry firing in and maybe 2 days a month at the range? Yeah, most of us could. Maybe not so much in the winter months. You know, when you're nut deep in the white stuff here and it's minus 35, not going to see many people outside shooting their handgun. More likely you're inside just looking at the computer screen and pretending to push the big red button. In any case, that's enough for today. Have a nice day.